Good morning, everyone, and Mr. Prime Minister. It's very nice to be here with you today. GDP is slowing all over the world. The reason, productivity has been declining for 20 years all over the world. The result is unemployment is high everywhere, especially among young people all around the world. And our economists tell us that we can look up to 20 more years of slow growth. No brightness on the sunshine on the horizon. Now this economic crisis we're in has given rise to a more profound environmental crisis. We're in real-time climate change. And our scientists now tell us that we are in the 6th extinction event of life on Earth. We've had 5 mass waves of extinction over 450 million years. Each time, the wipeout came quick, and it took over 10 million years to recover. We're now in real time the 6th extinction event after 2 industrial revolutions, spewing massive amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. And I want all the parents to listen to this. We may see the elimination of over half the species of life on Earth by the time your grandchildren are my age. We don't know if the human species can survive the next 5 generations. It's clear we need a new economic vision for the world that's compelling. We need an economic game plan for that vision that's deliverable quickly. So we have to ask, how do the great economic paradigm shifts in history occur? If we know how they occur, we get a roadmap and a compass for how Russia can help lead the world into a new economic era, a new journey. There have been 7 major economic paradigm shifts in history, and what's interesting is they share a common denominator. At a particular moment of time, 3 defining technologies emerge and converge to create what we call in engineering a general purpose technology platform, an infrastructure that fundamentally changes the way we manage, power, and move economic activity. What are those 3 defining technologies? Number 1, new communication technologies to more efficiently manage our economic activity. Number 2, new sources of energy to more efficiently power our economic activity. Number 3, new modes of transportation to more efficiently move our economic activity. When new communication technologies converge with new sources of energy and new modes of transportation, it fundamentally alters the way we manage, power, and move economic life. 2 examples. 19th century, first industrial revolution, Britain, communication, energy, and transport, manage, power, and move economic life. The Brits invented steam power printing, and then they laid the telegraph system across Britain. Those communication technologies converged with cheap British coal, a new power source, and they harvested with a steam engine. Then they put the steam engine on rails, national railroads, communication, energy, and transport. Second industrial revolution, the United States, 20th century, centralized electricity, and especially the telephone, later radio and television. Those communication media converge with cheap Texas oil, powered by the internal combustion engine, and then Henry Ford put everyone on the road, cars, buses, and trucks. That second industrial revolution took us through the 20th century, but it peaked in July 2008 when Brent crude oil hit a record of $147 a barrel on world markets. And if you remember that month, when that peak happened, purchasing power shut down everywhere. That was the economic earthquake. The collapse of the financial market 60 days later was an aftershock. And the reason is everything's pegged to fossil fuels in the second industrial revolution. Our fertilizers, pesticides, construction materials, pharmaceutical products, synthetic fiber, power, transport, heat, and light. So when oil starts to go over 95 a barrel, all the other prices go up. When oil hits about 150 a barrel, prices become prohibitive, purchasing power slows. Here's what I'm suggesting. We're in a long period now, a sunset of the second industrial revolution, based on centralized telecommunication, fossil fuel nuclear power, internal combustion transport. Let me share an anecdote. When Chancellor Merkel became Chancellor of Germany, she asked me to come to Berlin in the first few weeks of her new government to help her address the question of how to grow the German economy in her watch. When I got to Berlin, the first question I asked the new chancellor, Madam Chancellor, how do you grow the German economy or the EU or global economy if your businesses are plugged into a second industrial revolution platform, centralized telecommunication, fossil fuel nuclear energy, internal combustion transport, and that platform to manage power and move economic life, it peaked in its productivity at 13% aggregate efficiency 20 years ago. Now, I just mentioned aggregate efficiency. Let's talk about productivity. This is what this is all about with the new innovations. There are three factors in productivity. Number one, capital for better machines. Number two, better workers. But that's only 14% of productivity. The other 86% is something in economics we call aggregate efficiency, the ratio of potential to useful work at every step of conversion of every value chain of every business across society. So what I said to the Chancellor that first day, Madam Chancellor, we started in the U.S. in 1903 at 3% aggregate efficiency across all our value chains on the Second Industrial Revolution platform. By 1990, we got up to 13% aggregate efficiency. Nothing's changed. Japan got to 20% aggregate efficiency in 1990. Nothing's changed. What I'm saying to you, you can have market reforms, labor reforms, fiscal reforms, all sorts of new innovations, but if you plug those into a second industrial revolution infrastructure of centralized communication, fossil fuel nuclear power, internal combustion transport, no country in the world can get above that ceiling of 20% aggregate efficiency, which is 85% of productivity. On that first day with the Chancellor, I outlined a third industrial revolution, a new convergence of communication, energy, and transport, and at the end of the day, the Chancellor said, Mr. Rifkin, we will have this new vision, this third industrial revolution in Germany. We'll get back to this. Here's where we stand now. The communication internet we all use with our smartphones is converging with a digitalized renewable energy internet and an automated GPS driverless transport internet to create three internets, a super internet to manage, power, and move economic life. These three internets are a kernel, and they ride on top of a platform called the Internet of Things. We are embedding sensors in every device, every machine, every appliance, so they can monitor big data and send it back to this emerging communication, energy, and transport matrix. By 2030, we'll be all connected. This is a big leap forward for humanity because we can potentially, with very cheap technology at near zero marginal cost, all of us in the world can have a transparent picture of the economic data flowing across the world. What this means is this. Let's say you have a small business or a startup here in Russia or a big company. You can go up on this Internet of Things platform with very cheap technology, and you can cut out the big data on your value chain that you care about. Take all the noise, get rid of it, cut your data coming through all of those sensors from the agricultural fields, the factories, the retail stores, the traffic going on the logistics corridors. Take the data you care about and then mine it with your own analytics. Create your own algorithms. Create your own apps. So you can dramatically increase your aggregate efficiency at every step of conversion on your business's value chain, and as a result, increase your productivity, reduce your marginal cost, and stay competitive in a smart global digital economy. Some of the marginal costs are going toward near zero marginal cost, and guess what? It's giving rise to the sharing economy. The sharing economy is here, and it's already affected the communication internet. We have 3 billion people now who are prosumers. They're still sellers and buyers and owners and workers, but they're now prosumers. And that is with cheap technology, they're producing and sharing all sorts of virtual goods with each other at near zero marginal cost beyond the market and for free. Whole industries have been disrupted. We have young people producing and sharing their own music, their own videos, their own news blogs, their own contributions to Wikipedia. And they're even taking massive open online college courses, all free. Industries have been disrupted. The music industry, television, newspapers, magazines, book publishing, they've declined. But thousands of new startup innovations have emerged. And these thousands of new enterprises, they're creating the platforms, the apps, the connectivity for this sharing economy. Well, now we thought the sharing economy would only be in the virtual world, but with the introduction of the Internet of Things platform for a third industrial revolution, it's moved across the wall to the physical world. We have millions of people now who are producing their own renewable energy at near zero marginal cost. And we have young people sharing cars on car sharing services that are quickly going to be driverless at very low marginal cost. Let's look at Germany. Since the chancellor's come in, where 30% of the electricity in Germany is now solar and wind, near zero marginal cost. The fixed costs are plummeting. Some of you remember a solar watt used to cost $78 to produce in the 1970s. It's 50 cents today. It's going to be 35 cents in 18 months from now. So solar and wind are on an exponential curve like computing. This technology is going to be so cheap it'll be given away in 20 years. But in Germany, the marginal cost, once you put in that solar panel, wind turbine, geothermal heat pump, the marginal cost is zero. The sun is not sending us a bill in Germany. The wind isn't invoicing us. The geothermal heat's not charging us. So here we're moving in Germany in a transition where the communication internet comes together with the energy internet, and if you're plugging your business into that system, you can increase your aggregate efficiency across your whole value chain at near zero marginal cost for your data and your energy. How do you compete with that on a second industrial revolution platform? The coming together of communication energy internet's giving rise to the automated transport and logistics internet. The automobile was the centerpiece of the second industrial revolution, but guess what? The millennials don't want to own automobiles. That's grandma and grandpa. They want access to mobility in networks in real time. They do not want ownership of the vehicle. And beginning with the millennials, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, they're never going to own cars again. For every car shared, 15 cars are being eliminated. We have 1 billion cars, buses, and trucks in the world choking us in traffic. Number 3 cause of climate change. And what's going to happen over the next generation is 80% of those vehicles are going to be eliminated with car sharing on automated GPS driverless networks. The other 200 million vehicles are going to be electric. They're going to be fuel cell. They're going to be operated by near zero marginal cost renewable energy generated on continental internets. And they're going to be 3D printed with recycled composite materials. The first vehicle is already in commercial production. And they're going to be driverless. The state of Nevada just gave Daimler Trucks permission to operate its trucks in Nevada without a driver this year on the commercial roads. It's a revolution. So what does this mean for the future? We're moving into a world that's part capitalist market, part sharing economy. Part of the day, we're in the market. We're producing and selling goods and services. There are profit margins, properties exchanged. But already, young people are beginning to produce and share goods and services in the sharing economy at near zero marginal cost beyond the market. I have no doubt capitalism will be here by 2050. It will flourish, but it isn't going to be the exclusive arbiter of economic life. It'll have to share the center stage with its grown-up partner, the sharing economy. The big winner here is the planet. And that is, this is the only plan I know, this new matrix, to actually reduce our ecological footprint in time, if we have time left, to address climate change. Because if 7 billion people armed with cheap mobile technology can find ways to use analytics every day in everything they do to increase their aggregate efficiency and reduce their cost, it means all of us with our technology are using less of the earth and getting more out of it. Using less of the earth and getting more out of it, that's what aggregate efficiency is. Then if what we do produce is shared, share the car, share the home, share the toys, then all of us are using less, and we're in the circular economy. We're redistributing what we use to each other. Now, finally, I'm reminded about Russia. It's very interesting that Russia has, I was looking at the statistics, have a wealth of renewable energy, as you know. The new IEA report, International Energy Agency report, says that Russia has 5 times more renewable energy than it needs to operate its economy. That's amazing. Very few countries have that amount of renewable energy. And it's also quite interesting to me when I look at the history of Russia in the 20th century, Russia in the cultural DNA, world class in science and engineering. I'm reminded that you put the first astronaut in outer space. I'm reminded that the Russian Vernadsky was the first in the biology field to actually understand the biosphere as our indivisible community. If you take a look at Russia in the engineering sciences, the biological sciences, in physics, you see that there's huge potential here to move these new innovations forward. But these innovations in that expo room will be meaningless if they're continually being plugged into that old second industrial revolution platform of centralized telecommunication, fossil fuel nuclear power, internal combustion transport. Now look, we're not leaving the second industrial revolution tomorrow morning. My country is a major power in oil and gas. There are countries all over the world that are in the second industrial revolution, all of us. But smart business, smart government means we need to be in both portfolios. We need to be in the second industrial revolution, but also in the third industrial revolution, so we can make a measured shift over the course of this century to a new post-carbon era. And that's why in Europe, for example, many of the electricity and transmission companies have joined us. ERDF and EDF and GDF Suez and E.ON are beginning to understand we need to be in both of these portfolios at the same time. My sense is here, I was very heartened to see that President Putin, I guess it was at the St. Petersburg summit, called for a green growth. And Mr. Prime Minister, very encouraged that recently you called for a movement into renewable energies, a new portfolio to try to move renewable energy onto the docket. This is the kind of leadership we need, so that we can begin to see Russia, along with Germany and now China and others, helping us navigate our way into a third industrial revolution. If we get there in time, we can hopefully expand the entrepreneurial spirit on this third industrial revolution platform. We can make sure that we have employment for millions of people as we laid out this infrastructure. We can engage virtually every industry in the build-out: telecom, cable, ICT, consumer electronics, transport, logistics, construction, real estate. They all have to build out this infrastructure. In the final analysis, what we have is hope for a new generation. We have an internet generation in this room. They're qualified. They are ready for this new picture of humanity to emerge. And my hope is that Russia will help lead the world into this new digital future, so we can plug in all these new innovations in a new system, reduce our ecological footprint, democratize the economy, replenish the planet, and hopefully create a situation for future generations so they'll be able to enjoy their time, their moment on this earth. Thank you.